looked up to. But today, nowhere in Nigeria do you have any serious football league. Instead, all the people are doing now, they're Arsenal supporters, Man U supporters, Liverpool supporters, and so on and so forth. Because you can never have a vacuum. In those days, those names, you really heard them only on the pool betting slip, you know, that the old men used to have, pool betting. My father used to do pools once in a while, much to my mother's anger and annoyance. But that was the way it was in those days. And but the good thing about sports, though, I must be honest with you, is that it's the only environment where there's no quota system, where they're not asking you, your left fullback must be from Zamfara State, the inside left must be from Ogun State, Mighty Jets of Jos, yes, it's true. Vipers Football Club, it's true. Lauren Navy says I'm ancient. Well, what can I do? That's the way I met Nigeria. Okay, yes, Mighty Jets of Jos, Enugu Rangers. They were not even Rangers then. The Rangers was even a new club. That one started in my secondary school days. But the real clubs, they were stationary stores, ECN, they called them NEPA, eventually, MPA, and so on and so forth. I think Coca-Cola or whatever, Nigerian breweries or whatever had the team also. And they really competed robustly in those days. Even before the days of Michael Okpala and Mudashiru Lawal and even my good friend and brother Segun Agbede. That was before their time. I think they were still in primary or secondary school in the days of Inua Rigogo and Peter Fregene. I'm sure some people will still remember those, the baby face a.k.a. That's what they used to call him. But here we are. But as I was saying, the good thing is that it's only in sports. They don't say that your right, inside right must be from Anambra. Your inside left must be from Sokoto. Your goalkeeper must be from Dahomey Republic or whatever it is. It's only in football that we truly have national representation. So I'm hoping that Segun, now he's back on, can give us a few insights on, first of all, how he got involved in sports. And then secondly, what do we do about our sports in Nigeria? Those are the first two things I want him to comment on. What's the state of sports in Nigeria and how he himself, after the Onion Group, got involved. Segun, I think you are on now.
Yeah, tell him to unmute.
Please unmute yourself and speak for the people who are listening. Segun. Unmute yourself, please.
All right, can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Fantastic. Sorry, Pastor, I'm having some technical difficulty. I'm a bit of a computer, what's the opposite of computer geek? Anyway, it's all good. Yeah, so where do I go first? State of Nigerian sports or how I got into sports?
How you got into sports?
All right.
How you got into sports?
Okay, fine. I went to schools that were really, you know, sports-orientated schools. I spent a term in Christ School at Ekiti, and then Igobi College, where I did my O-levels, and then I came to King's College for lower six. So I'll say Floriat, yeah?
Floriat, who are those who were your class in lower six in King's College?
Kenneth Etere, the late Osita a.k.a.
Okay, Osita a.k.a, yes, it was my junior.
May so rest in peace. Okpong.
Okpong, yes, the lawyer.
Yes, the lawyer, Okpong.
Omoto there?
No, Deji had left before I came in.
Okay.
Dapo Yeleke.
Dapo Yeleke, troublesome boy, I remember.
Yeah, he's still very troublesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah,
okay.
guys, yeah.
Onyewenyi was your school captain.
Yeah, I was a school captain at that time. May so rest in peace.
Yeah, that was my classmate.
Azim, Zili. Yeah, boys. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Boys.
Okay. At least there's something good about you. I didn't know.
Well, then there was this the keeper, Zapik. What's his name? I can't remember now. I don't know, but that was a long time ago. Yeah, but it was good.
Go ahead,
But,
please.
sorry, Kayuma. Yes,
Kayuma. I remember him.
Kayuma Zapik. Zapik.
Kayuma. I
Zapik
remember
was
Kayuma.
all around. So basically, I mean, I was basically a cheerleader in school. You know, I loved football, cricket, and I never really played at any level. But the cricket, I was more like an Abani you know. But I've always loved sports, and you know, I've always had an avid interest in football locally and abroad. Yes, for my sins, I'm a Manchester United fan. But when I was much back in the day, I was Shooting Stars, I was Leventis United, stationary stores, you know, Mighty Jets, as you said, Enugu Rangers, Spartans of Owerri. That's where it came in 1 year. So, I mean, the Nigerian league was vibrant. I had a classmate when I was in UI, Dr. Mokemi, that used to go and watch Leventis every blessed Saturday. Was off to Liberty Stadium, you know, and talking to the likes of Wole Odegbami and Segun Agbede, he's a good friend of mine. You know, they spoke about the pitch of Liberty Stadium, that the grass there was as good as anything that you could get anywhere in the world. So unfortunately, we kind of regressed when it comes to football in Nigeria. The league is nowhere near as interesting, but big congratulations to Aqua United, who won the league for the first time in their history this year, and
I think he has frozen. I think he has frozen. He's frozen, Olu. He's gone off.
He's back, but he's muted. Tell him to mute.
Segun, please unmute yourself.
okay, am I back?
You're back, yeah.
All right, fine. So there was a time I had a big fall in business. Everything came crashing around my ears, and I literally had to start all over again. You know, in my mid-40s, which is really tough to start all over when you like set yourself up and you think you're set for life, and all of a sudden everything disappears. But you know, that's where you get to know God and all. You know, He reconstitutes you, and you know, when you're broken, you go before Him, and He builds you up. So a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, Dr. Yemisi Utubara, an old Ibobian, suggested to me that, you know what you really like doing, what you see yourself doing, where is your interest, what's your vocation? I said sports. He said, okay, fine, why did you go into sports? And another mutual friend of ours, Shea Akilmi, also my classmate in Ibobi, helping register sports and events, and the rest, as they say, is history. Started up doing stuff with NTA, got into super sports, started writing for the Punch. Now I've been on radio for about 5 years. So the Pundit was then created, you know, like the Sphinx that rose from the dead, or rose from the ashes. So Segun Agbede recreated himself into the Pundit, and that's where we are today. So that's my story as far as sports, as far as getting into sports is concerned. And to be honest, sports has taken me around the world. I've been to 2 Nations Cups, 2 World Cups, Brazil, Russia, South Africa 2013, Egypt 2019, and it's been a lot of fun around quite a few countries in Africa, Congo, Brazzaville, Lesotho, small con Zambia, Tanzania. It's been fun. It's been fun. Had a good time along the way.
Okay,
Your second question. Yeah, go ahead.
What's your evaluation of the sports environment in Nigeria right now?
One of the reasons I put on my green and white jersey is, I often get a lot of brickbats that I'm hypercritical of the sports authorities, of the administration. And I like to say, no, it's just that I think one has to have high standards. And Pastor, I'm sorry to say, our standards have kind of slipped in Nigeria. To a certain extent, mediocrity has become the norm. Non-accountability, a lack of responsibility has become the norm. Buck passing, nobody wants, it's nobody's fault. It's just like, when I'm at home with my children, something, maybe you leave a Coke in the fridge and it's gone. Who took this? Mr. Nobody. Or somebody leaves the light on all night. Who did that? Mr. Nobody. Because everything wasn't me, it wasn't me. So that's it's, we have the Mr. Nobody syndrome in Nigeria. It's nobody's fault. State of play in sports in Nigeria, it could be better, much better. But as I always say, you cannot divorce sports from weakened institutions. The question is, in Nigeria today, what really works? Is it electricity? Is it potable water? Is it the roads? Is it security? In fact, our biggest problem in Nigeria today is insecurity. Total, in fact, in some areas of the country, a total lack of security. So therefore, even our governing institutions, I mean, the legislature panders to the executive and all that. The executive is basically a law unto itself. So at the end of the day, how do you expect sports to be any different? Who are the people that are going to run sports? Sports cannot be developed. You cannot expect excellence in sports when other parts of your society are not working properly. So that's where we are. So we'll just make the best out of when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And as you can see, the embarrassment that was subjected to at I won't say concluded Olympics, but it's concluded for Nigeria. But I mean, between the sports ministry and the various administrators there, they subjected us to world ridicule, with half of our track and field team being banned because they didn't complete their out of competition tests. Whose fault is that? Of course, it's the administrator's fault. Yes, you can say maybe the athletes bear a modicum of blame because they didn't sound the alarm or they didn't do it themselves or whatever. But at the end of the day, whose job? You have one job. Your job is to prepare the athletes to run. Your job is to create the requisite enabling environment so that they can perform to their optimal. And unfortunately, they fell down on that. There's no dodging. I have a radio program, Sports Zone, I do it Monday to Friday, and then you have listeners say, oh, we're always running Nigeria. The athletes shouldn't put down Nigeria. The athletes should protest. They should do this. They should do that. But why won't they protest? Why should we say they're pointing out Nigeria's flaws for the international community? But I say, hell no. If you go out, it's like the emperor that has no pants. If you're walking around without pants, then the whole world will be laughing at you, whether you believe it or not. You can have all the psychopaths in the world that are saying you're wearing imaginary pants, but you're not wearing anything. So what the hell are we talking about? So it's really upsetting. This particular Olympics really got me upset because I feel we could have done better. I will take nothing away from the athletes that represented us now there, because the truth of the matter, there's a stat that 95% of people that go for Olympics are not going to win anything. Only 5% of everybody competing is ever going to win anything, is ever going to get on the podium. It's tough even to get an Olympic bronze. An Olympic bronze is to be treasured for a lifetime. Not talk of silver, not talk of gold. It's an exceptional, it's like my definition of perfection is, or excellence. My definition of excellence is the pursuit of perfection. Nobody can ever be perfect, but when you pursue perfection, you now become excellent. And those that win Olympic medals pursue perfection and end up being excellent, like the Jamaicans that did a 1, 2, 3 in the 100 meters. And I came across a very crazy stat. Jamaica has won 13 out of the last 15 medals on offer at the Olympics over the last 5 Olympics. That's a crazy stat. And we're talking about an island nation of not more than, I don't know their population, 4 or 5 million, not up to 10 million people. How they do it, I don't know. But it's absolutely amazing. 13 out of the last, in the women's sprints, 13 out of the last 15 medals. That's over America, over the biggest, over the Russian Olympic Committee, over the bigger nations. So how they've done that, I don't know. But coming back to the state of play in Nigeria, we can do better. I think we really need to de-emphasize government participation in sports, because government by definition is a bureaucracy and an inefficient one at that. But the government likes to dabble in our sports. They weaken the federations. They like to have control. They like to hold the purse strings. But at the end of it, it's frustrating people. I remember back in the day, we had mobile track and field. And I think the likes of Innocent Egbunike, the late Sunday Bada, Falila Tokunkoya, Miriam Yali, we had the greats. I think were discovered at those track and field events. But now what we have, so I don't know. We need to encourage, maybe through this forum, because this forum is a wonderful forum, a wonderful platform. We need to encourage corporate titans, like even now, in fairness, some banks stepped up to the plate to adopt an athlete, funded the Tigers, the Tigresses to a certain amount. But hey, that was just 2 or 3 weeks before the Olympics. What does that do? I watch Sky News a lot, and anytime you see an athlete win a medal, what you see them going back to the athletics club, where you see the young ones, up and coming ones, already getting ready, already preparing. We're talking about 12, 13, 14-year-olds who are already looking at Paris Olympics and beyond. Where are we in that regard? So, you can't have corporate titans coming on, a month or two before. You have to adopt an athlete, a year or two before, helping the preparations, the way mathematical Odegbami took Chioma Ajunwa under his wing maybe about 2 years, 18 months before the Olympics, and set up her training in the UK, saw her talent, her raw talent, and set her up in the UK and worked on her till she came home with that gold medal, which right now is still the only gold medal Nigeria has ever won in athletics, which is an amazing and very sad fact. But hey, we had her in the studio the other day, 25 years after. But it takes preparation. You cannot just wish yourself a gold medal. Ideally, they say it's Olympic preparation is in 4-year cycles. Do we do that here? I really don't know. But it's not all doom and gloom. For me, special mention must go to Abiola Ogumao, a 17-year-old swimmer who smashed the Nigerian record in the 100 meters freestyle. She went under a minute. That record was set by Ngozi Monu in 2007. She swam 59.74, and which for a 17-year-old, so that means the future is so bright for her. I fully expect, unfortunately, she couldn't get into the semifinals or finals with that time because the pool was so fast and there are so many other better swimmers. But hey, there's hope for her. And Kadegoki, who got into the finals of the 100 meters, unfortunately pulled up with the hamstring. Really, really impressed with the 4x100 meters women who ran for us. Ese Brume, who is a long jumper. She won bronze in the long jump. Oluwatobi Amushon, who is a 110 meters hurdler. Then Grace Nkocha, who kept on increasing her personal best in the 100 meters. And Patience Okon George. So it was a mix and match because the other people that were supposed to run were the 10 that were dropped because of their their failure to take drug tests out of competition. So we and our athletes are lion hearts. We tend to prevail. I mean, there are stories of when we won the Olympic gold in 1996, the original dream team, them Kanu, Victor Ikbeba, Celestine Babayaro, Emmanuel Amunike, Boy, Joseph Doshu, the keeper, There are stories of them carrying themselves up and down, washing their kits, having to do all that. Nobody had any faith in them whatsoever, but they won. And that has always been the Cameroon calls themselves the indomitable lions, but we Nigerians we're unbreakable, we're impregnable, we're indomitable. We survive against all the odds. We live in a very hostile environment. For those people that go on and say things are working, God forbid you have a medical emergency and you have to go to hospital, then you know what this country is like. I'm not here to run down my country. Unlike others, I don't have a plan B. I don't have an alternate passport. I don't have nothing. Me Me, I love my country. I love the land and put everything there for Nigeria. And this is where I live and die. But I worry about my children. I worry about my children's children. What legacy are we going to leave for them? So it's about time we changed our mindset. I think it's a mindset thing. You know, we need to, you know, I was in church yesterday and you preached about the wickedness of man. We need to, yeah, I think that, and it's not just our leaders, even people on the street are wicked. When you see them driving, there's a wicked, it's raining heavily, you see person driving like a madman. Where are you rushing to? You know, so I don't know, we need spiritual cleansing, spiritual healing in this country. But we live in hope. We live in hope.
We live in hope indeed. We live in hope indeed. Maybe you can explain to us, how do they run sports in the US? How do they run sports in Germany? How do they run sports now in, I think, Japan and possibly even in the UK? What makes the sporting environment, what makes them so well prepared? What makes them so competitive? What makes them so organized? And what do you think the benefits are to the economy of those countries based on the organization of their sports? I don't know if you have that information and knowledge.
This, for a start, very good question. But for a start, the sports industry itself is a multi-billion-dollar industry. I cannot overemphasize the length and breadth of the sports industry, the power of the athletes. Okay, let me take the UK, for example. I think it was Athens 2004. The British had a dreadful Olympics, dreadful. You know, they spend a lot of money, government grants and all that. You know, the Brits, very efficient, very detailed, diligent in their ways in certain things, except when it comes to racism. And, you know, they put a lot and they had a very dismal lot. I can't remember the figures now, but it was shocking. But you know what they did? They went back to the drawing board, which is a term I actually hate, but, you know, what they did. And they decided, you know, let's raise money. Let's give each and every federation monetary grants so they can train their own athletes. We're talking about cycling, we're talking about rowing, we're talking about athletics, we're talking about wrestling, we're talking about gymnastics, all sports across board. And in order to do this, the national lottery has been on forever and a day. I remember from the 90s. But they decided, okay, they sat down with the National Lottery Board, gave them some special, and said, you know what, let's have a portion of the money you make. Because, of course, you know, when you play the lottery now, you're talking, how many times does anybody win? So that's money that is in the bank for the national. So they got a huge portion of that money and started to use it to bankroll their potential Olympians in 4-year cycles. And by the time they hit Beijing 2008, there was a marked improvement. By the time they hosted the Olympics in 2024, they were up there on the medals charts. They really did very well. Same thing in in fact, it's been an upward trajectory for them ever since. Same thing in Rio 2016 and same thing in Tokyo 2020. They've done really well to the extent they even have a 13-year-old Sky Brown who won bronze. 13-year-old, the youngest Olympic medal winner ever in skateboarding. So it's been an upward trajectory. And when you see them, when you go to their boyhood athletics camps, already they're planning, they've already put in well over 300 million pounds in preparation for the next Olympics in Paris. So basically it's about funding. Private sector, in answer to your question, in a nutshell, it's private sector funding. The government takes minimal, not a minimal interest per se, but they're on the periphery as well. Same with Germany, same with the US. The US is private in every sense. So we're talking about their NCAA meets are as good as any international Diamond League meets. They have the athletes, they have the money, and it's all brought about by sponsors for the various colleges. It's either grants from individuals that went to that school, corporations. It's all private private equity, private investment put into the sport. Same with Japan. Japan is right now is having their best Olympics since 2004 something. At last count, they had 18 gold medals. And I'm so happy they didn't cancel the Olympics. Even the Japanese people that were 80% for it to be canceled because of COVID and the pandemic and everything. I'm sure they're so, of course, they're having a wonderful Olympics. They're excelling in all sports across borders. They won two gold medals in fencing, something they've never done before. So basically, it's about the government taking a back seat. Maybe in places like Russia and authoritarian regimes, China, yes, the government, because of their system of government there, then that is government run. But all the same is heavily funded. But the truth of the matter is all about the Benjamins, it's all about money. They put money. It takes millions to get a podium finish. It's not an ad hoc thing. It's not a wishful thing. It's not hoping that somebody drops a baton or something. It's really about money. Money obetodu olopa.
What you're saying is that you don't think that Nigeria is investing enough money in her sports?
Oh, basically, yes, straight up. But the question is, do we have the money to invest? Does the government have the interest in sports, that much interest in sports? Even the goose that lays the golden eaglet, the goose that lays the golden eggs, the Super Eagles, they're struggling to raise money for their various competitions. They're struggling, having numerous battles with the sports ministry and all. They're struggling, so it's about money. But I think the sports ministry needs to hands off. I mean, there was a time we had the national, because the sports ministry, everybody forgets, is the Ministry of Youth and Sports, which is humongous. Nigeria, for me, I'm no statistician, but I do believe 70% of Nigeria's population is under 40. And I think if you're under 40, 40 and below, you can be classified as a youth. So the youth ministry in itself is massive. Then you now combine youth and sports. How do you manage? How do you do? We had a National Sports Commission. What happened to that? Which was comprised of technocrats. The penultimate chairman, Chief Dr. Patrick a.k.a, was a personal friend of mine, great guy. He was a player. He was a person that played back in the day, played for Rangers, played for Super Eagles. When his playing days were over, he went to National Institute of Sports, and from there he proceeded to Germany, where he got a BSc, MSc, and a doctorate in sports. So we had technocrats there. But you have to welcome the private sector in, but unfortunately, there's a healthy distrust. There's a moat, there's a breach, a wide gap, a chasm, in fact, between the private sector and the government. Until that gap is breached and we can get more private sector involvement in the activities and sports sector, we'll continue to struggle. We'll continue to go to large contingents to Olympics and come back with just a silver and a bronze. At least it's better than 2012, we won no medals at all. 2016, I think we won a bronze. And now we managed to top bronze with the silver medal in 2021. Really not good enough.
So you think that, but who will build the cart? Who will ensure that the private sector gets a bit more involved in sports? What situation has to present itself to drive that kind of investment in sports by the private sector? I mean, why are they not doing it anyway at this present point in time? Why don't we have that response from them?
It's a question which kind of, I really don't know how to answer, but myself as an example, what I do is looking for sponsorship for sporting activities. It's like a trade-off. Like, for instance, when I went to in Russia, for instance, I had a collaboration with a pharmaceutical company who gave me a lot of their t-shirts to give out to fans from all around the world, put it out on social media. People are willing to do stuff. I mean, that's minor. I had an association with the sports betting company who are willing to do stuff with the Nigerian Football Federation. They were kind of frustrated. They're not the current one, but this the Amaju League. They wanted to do stuff. I think they played a qualifier away from home in Ethiopia. They wanted to put down $10,000 and not to do this, you have to, and just kind got cheesed off and left it. You know, there are people like us. That's part of what sports and events does. We're trying to, create awareness of how big sports is, trying to get companies. And in fairness to, one shouldn't blame government too. Even a lot of companies look at they don't the magnitude of it. They just don't. So it's like, okay, we do this, so they think they're doing a favor, and then with the general, unfortunately, the investment environment is hostile right now. So dare I say there's not that much spare change, so to speak. But it's an ongoing process. We can't give up. But the truth of the matter, the government has so many other things to do. In fairness to them, they have security concerns, they have to pay pensions, they have to pay salaries, they have so many other challenges to deal with. Sports for them, at times, sports is like a whim of whoever is in power. And I'll say something now. I'll go back to our team. In your earlier remarks, you spoke about how sports brings everybody together. I mean, look at that our 4x100 relay that I really don't know where those girls are from. I don't know what state Toby is from. I guess it's a woman is Delta. Princess Kocha is from somewhere in the East. Special George is probably from Akwa Ibom or Cross River State. But I don't care. Once you pull on the green and white, you're wearing the green and white. And if you look at our 94 team, which still remains the best team, to ever wear the colors of this jersey, although I'm very, very partial to the 1980 AFCON winning team, which was an excellent team. But even that team of Segun Agbede, Aloysius Atwego, Mudala, wow, Besto Gedingbe, Adokia Messimaka, nobody cared where they were from. The Nigerians, they carried that call for Nigeria. So we just have to keep on nose to the grindstone stuff. We need to help the government as well. The government want to be able to divest interest because they like to poke nose, they like to take sides, they like to create confusion. I mean, look at what happened with the athletics. Our major problems in the Olympics was the Athletics Federation of Nigeria, because before we went to the athletics, before we went to the Olympics, we had two de facto boards who claimed that they were legitimate. And at the end of the day, what we now saw was out of the 20 athletes we offered, that we were that were going to take place in track and field, 10 were excluded because of a divided house. A house that's divided itself will always fall. So it's an ongoing thing. We'll keep on trying. We need to create more awareness among corporate, in corporate Nigeria. We need them to change their own mindset as well. And we need to get the government to try and, to step back, to relax, and let the private sector take more control. Maybe it's the case of probity and accountability that bothers the private sector. Because, when you're in the private sector, every kobo you spend is for a reason, and you want it to be accounted for. You don't want a situation where the money has been craft or just hoovered up somewhere and nobody can explain what has been done. It's almost like the Puma deal, which is unfortunate. It was just scrapped. It was Puma, canceled it today. That deal would have paid Nigeria, would have supplied us quality kits. But unfortunately, the deal was signed by two members of one of the factions of the AFN without the knowledge of others. So, whether it may have been legal, but was it legitimate? I really can't say.
Interesting, very, very interesting. So my friend Ibrahim Pa made a comment just now that in 1993, Japan started the implementation of, listen to this, 100-year plan for the development of the Japanese League football in 1993. Implementation of 100-year plan, planning into 100 years. I think it was somebody that said that leadership, true leadership is planting a tree that you will not live long enough to sit under its shade. True leadership is planting a tree that you will not live long enough to sit under its shade. That means whatever you are doing, whatever you are thinking, however you are working for others to benefit. You are doing a lot of work for others to benefit. I think the reverse is the case in Nigeria. A lot of our leaders do a lot of effort for others to suffer and for them to benefit. I think it was the first Black chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff in America. His name is Colin Powell. I was listening to him recently also, who said that the definition of leadership is where people follow you out of curiosity. They're just following you. They don't even know where you're taking them. But the way they look at you, the way you inspire them, the way you stand before them, the words that you speak and all that, they just follow you. He said one of his ratings told him when he was in the army, Lieutenant Powell, true leadership is when people follow you just out of curiosity. And he says that is true, that when you are leading people and they trust you, they believe you, that you not throw them into the bus, under the bus, or into the river. That's really true leadership. And that is totally lacking in Nigeria. Let me ask you, what would Nigeria gain, or what have we lost by not running our sports well? What have we lost in terms of youth engagement? And I like what you said just now. And I do hope that somebody from the government is listening, that we should separate the Ministry of Youth from the Ministry of Sports. That if you really want to take this sports thing very seriously in Nigeria, there should be a ministry that focuses on sports and all the ramifications of sports. And then there should be another ministry in this day and age that focuses on youth and youth engagement and youth empowerment and youth education and youth enlargement, and so on and so forth. How do you engage the youth? How do you empower them? You know, and then you just merge youth and sports together as if they're not important things. And that's to our detriment. So what is Nigeria gaining? Or what would Nigeria gain in terms of youth engagement, in terms of population engagement, in terms of the economy, if it ran its sports well? And what have we lost by not doing so? Maybe if somebody from leadership, Aso Rock or wherever is listening, they will hear how much pain we are all going through.
Where do I start? First is first. Sports is all about prestige. I mean, the other day, I saw, I think it was yesterday or so, a young man from Burkina Faso won their first ever Olympic medal in bronze. And when they were talking to him, he said it happens to be on their national day. I mean, Burkina Faso, just one small country in West Africa that's better known for having dealing with al-Qaeda and all these Tuareg miscreants than sports. But his win in the Olympics has brought that country to the forefront of the international community and international press. So it's about prestige. But we can also look at the economics of it. When a country utilizes a sporting potential, I mean, look at the island of Jamaica, for instance, and that mad start, 13 sprint medals out of 15 in the last 5 Olympics. So that means gold, silver, bronze in the last 5 Olympics. And where is Jamaica in this scheme of things in the world? Not much about it really, but the renown, the finances that those gold medals bring to that island nation are beyond parallel. So Nigeria, we're missing out on the funds. We're missing out on the international prestige. We're missing out on engaging our youth, giving our youth hope for a better tomorrow. Because the truth of the matter is that, and it's a big danger for us, which we saw during the NSAS protest. We have a youth which is largely not underemployed, but unemployed. They're not gainfully employed. In fact, we have a youth who, if we are not careful, are going to teeter into despondency, despair, and hopelessness. And we need to avoid that. Most of our youth, they go to school and they get out of college or university or whatever, and their first thought is to relocate to Canada, the US, and the UK, or any other place in Europe. And you think to yourself, can you blame them? What is the government providing for them? What help? What safety nets are there? How do you keep them gainfully employed? It's a challenge. So sports is a way out. Basically, I think it was Shirley Ann Fraser. She won the silver in the 100 meters. She calls herself Rocket Mama. She said when she was young, she used to run to school in barefooted. Now her name is known all around the world. Sports is a way out. I remember when we won the Kodak Under-17 Cup, the World Cup in 1985. That's the first time Nigeria won a FIFA-rated tournament. And you had boys from very, very penurious backgrounds. And that's win, same with when Canada won in 93, that win catapulted them into international fame and fortune. So it's if the government, we we quote a nation like, let's say 200 million. So, I mean, for sake of that 200 million, for argument's sake, 70% of that population is under 40. What are we doing with that population? How do we engage them? How do we keep them occupied? How do we give them hope for a better tomorrow? We should, by and large, be winning all competitions that we take part in. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine who's in the UK right now, Yemido, and he was telling me about the number of Nigerians that are taking part in all sorts of sports, but in what I call colloquially, it's not proper English, but I like to refer to in the abroad, in America, in the UK, and at times a lot of them are not even, if they're not good enough to actually break into those teams because the standards are so high. But we can use them. We can utilize them. Are we tracking them? And we're talking about gymnastics. We're talking Chike, that was our first male athlete to go to the Olympics representing Nigeria. He came to our studio. Brilliant young boy, is 24. He's a computer systems engineer or something. So he's been to school, but he's always had that interest, and he wanted to represent Nigeria, and he did. Unfortunately, get as far as he could major thing 5. We have people like that, and we have people on the streets. You see them. Unfortunately, schools. You and I went to elite, what I call elite secondary schools. I remember in King's College, you had this, special groups: hockey, cricket, football. You have to be a member of one of them to do something. Keep yourself like. Ibobi College was like that. We had massive fields. We had hockey pitches. We had tennis courts. We had all sorts. Cricket pitches. Right now, we have private schools. Every square inch of the place is built up, so children can run out and play. Then we just used to run around. We used to have boom competitions that everybody could play, whether you're really that good or not. Find the boys that will excel, and obviously gravitate towards school teams. Then we just, we had after school, you come back your siesta. Then you have, like, I think before 3, 4, and 6, just go out and play, run around on the field every day before you come and have your bath and go for prep. I don't know. So we're missing out a lot financially. The financial rewards of winning international competitions are beyond measure, incalculable. But as I said, the prestige to the nation, the encouragement. You know what they say? They say, you look at something like Simone Biles and the issues she went through, the attention she brought to mental health issue. There's a young girl out there looking at me, wow, I can do what she's doing. I want to be like her. I want a black girl excelling in gymnastics. It's creating hope. There's an Arabic saying that says you can live about a week or 2 without food, maybe 3 or 4 days without without water, but not a second without hope. So we need to give our youths hope for tomorrow. We need to harness, sports can be as productive as the oil industry if properly harnessed. If we put it right for too long, I know the current sports minister, I've met him. He's a very articulate, erudite fellow, Sunday Dari. He's, very well spoken. I'll be honest, I would have thought he would have done better considering the caliber of those that have gone before him, because I've always seen the sports minister as a dumping ground for political hacks. Maybe you help to win an election and part of your reward, they just dump it, say, okay, where you go put me now? The sports. Just go there and mess the place up. But maybe he's done his best, but I think he can do better. And I'm sure we'll have learned a lesson from the debacle at Tokyo 2020. But sports is a massive industry, and if properly harnessed, we can get foreign exchange. Foreign exchange, human exchange, we can get so much from it if properly harnessed. But we're, as usual, as I said it, we are not. You cannot divorce sports from every other institution. Why is Donald Trump not still president of America today? Because of the institutions. He did his damnedest to frustrate, to truncate, to twist. He's still telling the big lie. But the reason he's not president today is they have norms and institutions, if not written down laws, that frustrated him. People stood up to him. Do we have that in Nigeria? And then you speak about our leaders, you speak about Japan's 100 years legacy. Our leaders don't think that way. What our leaders think is about educating all their children abroad, aggregating as many houses, as many properties, as many cars themselves abroad. It's poverty of the mind. And that is a disease worse than cancer. It's a poverty that you can't think about, and you can't think about tomorrow. You can only think. I remember one of our leaders actually said, we gave our tomorrows for your today. That was a bloody lie. You have taken our todays for your own tomorrow. It was a military leader that said that. It was a lie, a terrible lie. And that's where this settlement culture started. But as I said, it's about a change of mindset, Whether one day we'll have a young, articulate person that can come in and drive the national concept, wherever it comes from, whether it's from the east or from the west, wherever, I don't care. But just someone that knows what he's doing, that cares about this country, that puts this country first. It's until then. And I fully believe, I'll say this, I have no proof to back it up. But if M.K. Abiola, who in my mind won the June 12th election, won it clear, fair, and square, if he had been president when the Eagles went to the US in 94, I believe that team would have got to the semifinals, if not the finals at least, because MK would have sat them down and said, boys, if you get to this point, I will do X, Y, Z. And he would have believed it because he had been doing it. It's unfortunate. So leadership is very important. People that genuinely care about what we're doing. So until we have leaders that genuinely care about the people, and it's not just all mouth and about always preparing for the next election and just putting stooges in place, we'll continue to struggle. Sports, just like every other facet of society.
Okay, I'm going to ask you two questions together, and then I'm going to open the floor for other people to ask questions. Bumi Lawson was asking if we have the expertise to market and make sport profitable in Nigeria. Do we have that expertise? But you can note that to answer her question when there's question time. But I want to ask you two questions, and I hope you can answer. Funke, please, your okay, thank you. I can see a King's College boy, Bayo Balogun, already raising his hands. So he's going to ask you some questions. But before I ask Bayo to come in, he loves sports very much. I know him very well. Number one, if you were in charge of sports in Nigeria, by the way, Sunday Dari, I don't know what's going on, but maybe I know that it's not well funded at this point in time. Maybe that I can use to speak a little for him, because I see him running all over the place, trying to raise private sector funding to finance this thing. So maybe he's not even really been able to settle down and think a bit more strategically. But as you said, I do hope, he's a very good friend of mine also. I do hope that he'll be able to make a great impact, not just in sports, but in anywhere he finds himself. And if he cannot, he better shout out very quickly so that people know what really the issues are, and let us not think everybody is part of the problem in Nigeria. And if he doesn't succeed, that's going to be tough for him and his career. But I know that he's been really, really battling for funds. I don't know if he doesn't have a good budget or something like that. But anyway, what would you do to run sports effectively in Nigeria? That's number one. And then the second question is this: how can Nigeria, in your own opinion, get great leaders? What can we do starting now in this generation to make sure that come 2023, we have truly, truly great leaders in Nigeria? What do you think we should do? Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Actionable things that we can implement even on this platform. So those are the 2 quick questions I have for you. And after that, the people will ask their own questions.
Yeah. Let me just make a quick comment on Sunday Dare. As I said, I met him once before, and I found him to be very amenable, very intelligent and everything. But the truth of the matter is Sunday Dare came into office in 2019. The Olympics was supposed to take place last year. He came to office in the middle of the cycle. I'm not giving excuses for him. As I said, he could have done some certain things better, especially handling the issue of AFN, where I feel he allowed that matter together, but that's another issue. And, there's no point crying over spilled milk. But if I were in charge of the Ministry of Sports, as it were, the National Sports Commission, whatever, first things first, I'd like to have a think tank. Because the truth of matters, my people say, was anybody to bonton? Was anybody to mobubwet? Nobody knows everything. Nobody can know everything. So the truth of the matter is, a lot of people say, oh, we should have, like when Dr. A.k.a was there, maybe, an ex-sports, an ex-footballer who's now a technical channel. You can come from any walk of life once you have basic intelligence, and once you practice an open door policy, and once you're ready to listen and you surround yourself with people that can speak truth to power, that can say no to you, can say no to your excesses, and give you, and I think that will work in even an MD in a company, even the president of a country, can give you an alternate point of view. Just have a basic knowledge of what's going on and have honest and sincere people around you. Because yes, I know a lot of sports administrators. I'm very close to the president of the NFF, Ahmad Pinnick. I'm close to his first vice president, my classmates, college. I know them well, and I know the challenges they face. So the truth of the matter is that handling anything in Nigeria has a lot of pitfalls. There are so many diverse interests. There's so much parochial sentiments. There's so many various interests you have to satisfy. So it's really, really difficult. It's not, at times, it's not as easy as it looks. Really, 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 it's easy to be on the outside, throwing stones and all. But when you're in there, it's tough. But basically for me, I'd want to be sincere in what I want to do. I want to have clarity of purpose, aggregate the best team I can around me, sit down, draw up a plan. As you rightly said, plant a seed that will live long beyond me. We'll try and rise above, my immediate constituents after one thing or the other, after their own selfish or self-centered interests, as it were, and try to empower the federations. The federations for me are the key. Empower the federations, fund them as much as you can, give them the lighting to raise funds from the outside. Let them, another friend of mine is Francis Bobby. I think he's now one of the vice presidents of the National Olympic Committee, but is the chairman of the Badminton Federation. He's done an excellent job. Unfortunately, his players qualified but couldn't medal in Tokyo. But they've dominated Africa. He's been able to raise funds. He's been able to have tournaments. He's been able to organize competitions. We have some federations. We have very Ghana wrestling. We have people are doing, and it's such a pity about Odoya Adeku. Okay, special mention to both Blessing, Oporodudu, silver in wrestling, and Esepruma long jump. And such a pity because she jumped 7.17 this year, which was the world's best this year. Unfortunately, during in competition, she jumped, I think, bronze. She finished joint second though, but I think her last one was winning that sister. It was 6.9 something or whatever. So, you know, we have the talent, and we have the talented administrators as well that are willing to do the job. You know, so I'd make sure that you put round pegs in round holes, put the right people there. No sentiments, no ethnic, you know, maybe it's my townsman or somebody says I should put in there. Just try, and you have one job, just try to do that job. For me, I'll do my best. Whether I succeed or not remains to be seen, but I'll make sure I have the best minds around me that I can tap into their capabilities and make sure that, you know, we'll sit down, discuss with all the stakeholders and try to push Nigeria forward. I remember once I went to Aso Rock, and it's such a pity. And President Jonathan was in power then. And in fairness to him, he spent the whole day with us in Aso Rock. It was the Nigerian Sports Summit, and a lot of good things were said. He brought in all the ministers. Rotimi Amechi was there. This lady, what's her name? That's with the World Bank now, or whoever. The coordinating minister for the economy then, the Ankara wearing lady, I can't remember her name now. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Thank you very much. Yes, I know that. Yes, she was there. The minister of education, but all the ministers. And what impressed me about Jonathan is after a marathon session from morning till night, he actually stood up and made bullet points of everything that had gone on. And it was a wonderful document. I don't think that document saw the light of day. We are very good at forming committees and all that. And, you know, it just goes somewhere there. I'm sure there's one huge library or, you know, big room somewhere in the sports room where all these things are just gathering dust. So activate this. We don't need to draw, just go back. Look at all these things. We have very brilliant minds in this country, people that can sit down and knock up proposals, bring out ideas. It's all about ideas. And then, you know, copy from other countries, reinvent the wheel. Why reinvent the wheel? You know, look at what Japan is doing. You know, it's all about funding, but it's also about the political will. You know, let's stop treating sports, especially the government, as an illegitimate child. Let's bring that child to have his place at the high table and realize what the power, the prestige, the greatness that sports can bring to this country. The second question was,
go ahead.
Leadership. First things first, I'll tell everybody to stand up. I think I'm quoting my pastor there.
I can't hear you.
Go out there and register. I said, for everybody listening to the sound of my voice now. Exactly, yes, I'm quoting a certain person. Go out there and register. Elections are not won on social media. They're not won on Instagram. They're not won on Twitter. You know, go out there, register. We had the local government elections the other time. It was, you know, the turnout was dismal. I'll be honest, I couldn't be bothered myself. I spent the day just chilling at home. But it's time. It's time to step up. Professor Jega, Atariu Jega, somebody I have so much respect for, because I remember watching was it 2015 elections? It was like I was watching a Nollywood movie. You know, it was drama, even to one gentleman that now sat on the floor and said he wasn't going to move if some certain things didn't go his way. His grace under pressure, his integrity was, he said something. And to be honest, I put it out on Twitter several times. APC and PDP are two sides of the same coin. And his words, he said, they're Siamese twins. For me, they've not moved Nigeria along at all. So whether it's realistic to hope for a total change, whether it's realistic to hope for a third party that can actually challenge the monoliths that are APC, I do not know. But we need to demand leadership. And APC and people want to remain, let them put credible people in place to run. One of the biggest discomforts with the present regime, and is the vice president was my senior in school. I've known Professor Shipajo since I was in Form 1. I think it was 3 or 4 years my senior. He's one of the most brilliant human beings I've ever known. Of him, his English, his diction, he used to do debate for the school, impromptu debates. The way, in fact, we used to argue among ourselves, and and so I'm not surprised where he's. I wish he had more of a role to play. He's the vice president, and you know what it is. I wish President Buhari had made more use of it. I honestly do. I think he's been wasted over the last few years. But maybe if we could get somebody like him, maybe Peter Obi, whoever, I don't care where you come from, just somebody who's capable, somebody who has Nigerians and Nigerians' best interests at heart. Let's have a man of compassion, a man of capacity, a man of competence. For too long, Nigeria has been ruled by incompetent people that really don't know what they're doing there. It's time. And I pray in my lifetime we can have competent leadership. But as you can see by what we saw in America over the last 4 years, if you have incompetent leadership, you can become a laughingstock in the eyes of the world. To a certain extent, it's happening in Britain as well. Let's look for competent leaders. But what America has and what the UK has is they have the guardrails. They have the institutions that don't allow the country to plunge into the abyss. Do we have those guardrails? Do we have those institutions? Is the National Assembly not just a mere appendage to the executive, to the government, wagging whenever the government asks it to wag? The truth of the matter, what we need to pray for is that the good Lord should raise credible, honest, sincere, competent, compassionate leaders for Nigeria, that they actually feel the pain of Nigerians. I remember when Tofa and Abiola were having their debates back in the day. Tofa didn't know how much a liter of petrol costs. Abiola knew. He was a man of the people, and Abiola in that election, he won votes all over the country. He was a true Nigerian. We need a true Nigerian. No more of this. Let meritocracy reign. Enough of mediocrity. Mediocrity has set into our society, in every facet of our society. Let's look up. Let's raise it. Let's raise the bar. Meritocracy should be the name of it. Let's have a leader that is there on merit because he deserves to be there, not because he's from the north, he's from the east or the west or whatever. He feels it's his time. What's his time? You are playing with the destinies of 200 million people. It's time that we had a leader that can take us to the promised land.
Right. Thank you very much. Let me just go to the public who want to ask you questions. Bayo Balogun, Charles, and Afolabi Ajidaun in that sequence. You can please ask your questions 1 minute each, one after the other. And a.k.a. Agbede, that must be your son or your...
Yeah, Adile, that's my brother. Adile.
Okay, once we fire you and tell you how good a brother you have been. I think that's why.
Aburo, God bless you.
And Charles, here. So they will all ask their questions one after the other. Thank you. Bayo, unmute yourself. Bayo, unmute yourself and ask your question, please. I think there's something. Bayo, are you ready or do we move on to the next person? You must
Hello,
be a
sir.
Haman's house boy.
He muted himself.
Charles,
Yeah, I was like, how much? No.
you were in Haman's house. Yeah, I know Haman's house. That's how they behave.
Yeah. Ah, my phone. Oh, you the Yahoo, my pastor. You the Yahoo. No problem.
Yeah.
Which
Haman's
house
house.
you be there?
I mean, there's only one house in King's College now. You know
Which
now.
house you be there?
Only one house. You know the house.
Which one?
Pastor
Oh,
Ito was off campus.
Oh, I do.
Who is that? Who is that? Who is that wicked person?
I do. Those rich boys.
Ibrahim, I'll deal with you. Off campus. Hi J, La Yowa, hi J. That's where good leaders are, not all this new wing. Afterthoughts. You just thought after. Okay. Charles, please ask your question. I think Bayo will sort himself.
Hello, sir.
Okay. All right. Quickly ask your question, Bayo.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm really happy to be on the platform this evening. Like, I really enjoyed tonight's topic, this evening's topic, because I've listened to Mr. Segun on several occasions on the TV and radio. I never thought I would be interacting with you so soon, sir. Thank you so much.
God bless you, bro.
Thank you so much for the discussions and your explanations on various things that you've spoken about. Thank you so much, Sam. I'm grateful. Florence. So
Florian.
yes, sir. So I think talking about sports, I can also talk a bit, especially when it comes to the grassroots level. Myself and my brother played football a lot on the streets, and our father would beat us, flog us for going out to play ball and all that. I think he flogged it out of us. And my eldest brother would play table tennis, and he won so many competitions, even at organized levels. So talking about sports, sir, I have a question, and the question is, how can we use sports for grassroots development? And this is what I mean, sir. There are a whole lot of sportsmen in various villages and slums all over Nigeria, doing excellently well and wasting away unnoticed. It's so painful. And if you look back as at the time I'm talking about, some of the people that played ball then, some of them later on in life became, cultists. Some went into yahoo, some went into drugs, and just thank God for a few of us that are doing fairly well now. So the question is, how can we harness the talents so that lives don't waste away, especially at the grassroots level, the slums, the communities, the villages, and all that. And secondly, I also want to ask, how possible is it to decentralize sports? I mean, you don't have to leave sport development to the government alone. There's a business side of sport. In short, there are many aspects of sports. And the business side of sport needs to be developed for us to even talk about sport development. How do we take care of that so that investors can come in and invest in sports so that we can have development across various sports? Those are my two questions for now, sir.
All right, sir, bro. Thank you very much. God bless you. They're two very good questions, to be honest. I've spoken about the percentage of the demographics of this nation, and there's a strong possibility that 70% of our nation, if not more, are under 40. So obviously we have so many youths, and we have so many on and underemployed, and dare I say undereducated youths through no fault of their own. And sports is most definitely a way to change your life. I think if I'm going to look for an example, where the way sports can radically change your life literally overnight was maybe those wonderful boys that won the 1985, then Jonathan or Akubere, Lemisa, the boys that won the 1985 Kodak Under-17 World Cup was it in China then? I think it was in China, yeah? Yeah, it was in China. And these guys were basically people that came. I know Johnny grew up in Ajegunle. He's always proud of it. In fact, I've been back to Ajegunle with him several times, and he does sponsor a lot of, they have a Maracana there or something, and he sponsors a lot of grassroots football tournaments there and everything. So it's something that it has to be a kind of symbiotic relationship between, various levels of government, maybe the local government, state governments, in fact, local government primarily, because they're the closest to the streets, as it were. The state government to encourage, and then the federal government when we're having international competitions, as it were. So it's doable. We do have the talent, but do we have the resources? Do we have the interest? It's primarily about the interest and resources to garner, to create these competitions. I had the privilege of working in the Lagos State government trying to create a beach football league. And we have so many very talented players all over Lagos. And, funny enough, I have quite a few beaches, and they're quite, that really quite adept at beach football. So it's about resources. But a lot of these things, they tend to, pander out when, money is like petrol in a car. If you don't fill your tank, you can't move. So if you don't have the resources, you can't tap into resources and everything, they say, I think it was Zebda that said, poor man, no, they get the idea. It's only when you have a level of resources that you execute. It shouldn't be that way. Unfortunately, in Nigeria we live in today, that's the way it is. But it'd be great. And ironically, I can assure you, your father, if you had seen what happened in 85 and 93, because those are the two standouts on the 17 teams. Because after that, we kind of lost our way and we started what I call age grade bending, But those two teams are special to me. The 85 team and the 93 team were fantastic bowling teams. And I'm sure a lot of parents now realize, I have so many parents that talk to me now, oh, what can my children do, in the summer holidays? Is there an academy that they can go and train, that can go and hone their skills and all that? So people are aware that you can combine, education and sport. Like in America, for instance, all these athletes that you see winning medals now, they're all in college. They are all in college. It's part of the deal. They hone their skills in college, in university, track and field, where they have some of the best facilities. In fact, I remember once I was in California, I went to a high school. If you see their facilities in a high school, it's better than some stadiums. They have high school, that's like secondary school, better than what we have in some stadiums here. Not to talk of colleges, universities, yeah? So basically, it's all a matter of money. Sorry, I can't. What's the second question?
Okay, yeah. The second question is how do we develop the business side of sports?
Good.
Yes.
There are a lot of people out there trying. I know the La Liga has a program. They're doing stuff with the LBS. The LBS has, they're really working on the business side of sports. They actually had a program 2 or 3 months ago, and people that went through that program, I think La Liga took a trip to Spain that day to see how they work. La Liga is totally independent of government. La Liga's, they make sure that every football club has their own academy. They have their various streams of income, and I think they just got a cash inflow now of 200 million euros or something from some joint venture construction company, because the clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona have really been starved of funds recently, although because of their own excesses, buying players for outrageous amounts and paying them outrageous salaries as well. But we can go back to the Premier League, first division, as we know, it was dying then, in the 80s, hooliganism, Heysel, Liverpool being banned for years for, when they won the European Cup, and because the death of several European fans, because there are several Juve fans and all that. But they were reborn again in 1992 with the arrival of the Premier League. And what was the Premier League based on? Television rights. Sky came on board, bought their television rights, started playing their clubs humongous, the top tier, humongous amounts. And hey, presto, I remember I worked with Super Sports. I've had the privilege when there was a time Super Sports was sponsoring the Nigerian League, and I practically did all over in Nigeria to every match venue in Nigeria watching the MPFL. So when I talk about the MPFL, when people rubbish the MPFL, I always get offended because I've seen genuine talent, some that never even made it to the Super Eagles, but we have genuine talent in this country. So it's basically about television rights. It all boils down to money at the end of the day, getting corporate Nigeria involved. The mobiles they were fully involved before. I really don't know what happened. Is it Milo? Milo used to have track and field events as well. Back in the day, we had now I think Tom Tom is involved. I think Reckitt's it's also Super Eagles. We need corporate Nigeria to stand up, But as I said, can we divorce? Where does the money come from? The investment climate in Nigeria is hostile. $1 as we speak today is maybe $1 to well over 500 naira, pound over 700 pounds. So where's the money coming from? That's the reality of it. Where do you get? Will a company not pay salary? Will it not pay the salaries of its workers anymore because they want to invest in sports? So things need to improve in Nigeria across board before we can now start talking about the business of sports. You cannot divorce sports, which is part of our weak institutions, from the other weak institutions. When the other, it's like your organs in your human body. If one of your organs is failing, the others will start to collapse. You understand? So that's where it is, my brother. We really need to step it up. But we live a hope. And once we recognize the power of sports, which I think we all do, we're all sports lovers, we pray and hope that Nigeria does better. I mean, for one, I'm really looking forward to the Cup of Nations next year in Cameroon, looking forward to the World Cup. I hope we qualify in Qatar. These are things that knit the nation together and give us so much excitement and so much joy. But the business side of sports is there, but we need investment, we need money, we need interest. Maybe the governments can increase their funding, who knows if they can squeeze it out. It's all about money, isn't it?
Okay, very quickly, Charles, all here, please make your question very quick. And Afolabi Ajidan, please, one question each only. We are running out of time. And then Adele Agbede and Samuel Agbede, I beg your pardon, Agbede. I really beg your pardon. And Samuel, we'll cut it there. And my suggestion, Segun, is please allow all the four to ask their questions, and then you can answer all four questions together. Please write them. Charles, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Itwa, and thank you, Segun, for your elaborate presentation. My question, it would take a contextual form. I lost my father a couple of months ago, and one of the things I learned from him was, facing life's issues through the biblical prism. So, like the Bible tells us that the soul that sinneth, it shall die. The basis of that statement is that there is always a consequence for every action. So there is the issue of, and I'm making particular reference to the Olympic Games. Now, over the years, I mean, there is no sporting event that Nigeria goes to outside the shores of the country, and even here in Nigeria, where there is no, you won't find one incident, of crisis. None. As for my over 40 years, I've been following sports from as young as I can remember. There is no sporting event where there is no scandal. I can remember the sex scandal in one of the Olympics. I can remember the last Olympics in Rio, the catastrophe our football team went through. I can remember, down to this one, and it begins to it raises this issue of leadership that you mentioned at the beginning of your presentation. And the question then is, when do we begin, when do our leaders begin to be held accountable for their actions or inactions? Now, you spoke glowingly about Sunday Dare, the Minister of Sports. But, if we're being honest with ourselves, the buck stops on his table. He is the one that superintended over the debacle in the Athletics Federation of Nigeria. The Bible also says that a house that is divided against itself shall not stand. There were two parallel AFNs. And it calls to question his own leadership skills to allow that to go on in perpetuity. So my question then is, should Sunday Dare continue to be the sports minister after the shambles that is the Tokyo 2020 Games?
All right, Charles, in a nutshell, funny enough, you've answered your own question. You've spoken about accountability. I don't think I spoke glowingly about him. What I said is, I know him. I spoke about him as a person. His performance as a sports minister leaves a lot to be desired. That's why I kept on saying he can do better, he could have done better, and he handled the issue of the EFN for sure. Now, in a short answer to your question, is should he resign when he comes back? Yes. But unfortunately, in Nigeria, we don't have a history of resigning, because he's going to say, well, it's not my fault, it's the administrator's fault. Some will even blame the athletes. In fact, let me even give a quick story. We had a shot putter who was the first Nigerian ever to get to the shot put final, Chukwuebuka Onwekachi or something. Sorry if I missed his surname. And we spoke to his coach this morning. And there was a huge furore on Instagram because he was washing his jersey on Instagram, saying this was the only jersey he had. And you know what? The coach said, it wasn't the fact, it was the fact that they asked the manufacturers, AFA, to give them 3XL, which is supposed to be, but their 3XL was not big enough for him. Now, the question I asked, what happened to quality control? Would Puma, if Puma were kitted this time, would they give 3XL and it won't be the right size? So the question is, whose fault is that? It's all, for me, it's all an administrative lapse. The major thing is that instead of the guy preparing for his final, his short put final, he was washing his jersey. And because of what he put out on social media, I'm sure he would have been distracted, because at the end of the day, his throw in final was like 18 feet or something, or 18 meters, whatever. It was nowhere near what he threw in qualifying, which was well over 21 meters. So you can see, so the question is, what is the state of mind of these athletes with all these ancillary things going on? So the answer to your question, yes, Mr. Dare should resign, because everything that happened is under his watch, but whether he will do is another thing entirely.
Hello. Pastor, can I ask my question? I can't hear you.
Well,
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Falabi. Go ahead.
Okay. PI, good evening. Segun, good evening. Everybody, good evening. First of all, Segun, let me tell you something. A treble is a treble. Whether it's whichever cup, a treble is a treble. So stop that one. Stop that one. Segun, stop that one.
I bind you. Sign of the cross, never. Never.
Stop that one.
Never.
A treble is a treble. Stop that.
A treble is Champions League and FA Cup.
Segun, a treble is a treble. Now, my question to you, Segun, is what is your input or your take on this Puma money scandal entering the wrong account, a private account? Do you know anything about it, or have you not been knowing? You don't know? No, because you're asking. Let me finish. You're asking about private sector. This is what put private sectors off investing and putting money into anything where Nigeria is concerned. Puma sent money to sponsor for the athletes for the Olympics. How on earth did the money get diverted to a private account? How?
Well,
No,
I'm
how
sorry,
is that going to encourage? How is that going
let
to
me
encourage?
No,
Go
no,
on,
no.
go on, sorry.
Joe, let me educate you. Yeah, I will educate you. So it's good to get this clear. The money, no monies went into a private account. Yeah, the Puma deal was to kit the athletics team in Tokyo. But the problem is, when the Puma deal was signed, it was signed by only two members of the board, the president and the technical director, Engineer Gusau and Mr. Deleye, apparently without the knowledge of the rest of the board. That was the bone of contention. And that is what led to all this brouhaha. Now, I feel that not using the Puma track and field kits was like the equivalent of cutting off our noses to spite our face. The only money that probably changed hands was maybe a commission for the which is normal for the brokerage fee for organizing the transaction. So it wasn't particularly a case of corruption, but it was a case, it was unseemly and possibly not above board. I'm picking my words very carefully here, but it wasn't about money. That one is another one where I think the world has put money into overpaid Nigeria for something under the last sports minister, and it took ages for them to pay that back. That was a different matter. So the Puma one is, and the irony of the Puma deal is that you have our own shot putter, Chukwuebuka, who qualified for the final, who was washing his kit on the eve of the final because he had only one athletics top or whatever, one kit, because what was supplied by our own domestic suppliers was not the right size. So the question is, who does that? So there are so many levels, you understand? I really honestly cannot blame Sunday Dari for everything that has gone on. But as the Minister of Sports, Youth and Sports, the buck stops with him. Possibly in the abroad, he'll fall on his sword. It's possible. In Nigeria, we do not have, I think the only person that's ever resigned in Nigeria was that very well-intentioned lady, Kemi Adeosun. And it's very, very unfortunate due to circumstances above and under control. But that in itself is another story.
Sorry, Pastor Ito, can I just quickly follow up on that?
Go ahead.
Mr. Agbede. Thank you, Folabi, for raising that. Sorry, Mr. Agbede, I find it very difficult to believe that a large international corporation like Puma would sign a contract with a country and not have the proper signatories on the other side. I find that extremely difficult to believe. They would have done their due diligence.
Mind-boggling.
Sorry?
What's your name?
His name is
What's
Ibrahim. Ibrahim.
Sorry,
Pam.
my name is Ibrahim.
Okay, Ibrahim. Ibrahim, the truth be told, the chairman of the board and the technical director were the two appropriate signatories. They were the two that would have signed that transaction, that deal anyway. But they signed it, as I said, I'm picking my words very carefully, apparently without the knowledge of the rest of the board, which was not right. And that is what caused, that's what set the cat among the pigeons. As far as I know, monies did not change hands. What changed hands was possibly an agency fee for the people that arranged the transaction. Yeah, but the major thing, what Puma was supplying were the kits itself, apparently, which actually went to Japan. The second, we have AFNA and AFNB. So for purposes of the AFNB, actually took those kits to Japan. AFNA and the sports ministry refused to use them, along with the monies that they were willing to pay X amounts to other winners. So for me, this is a cut off your nose to spite your face scenario, and part of the problems that were engendered by that fight. Because on my program, Sports Zone, we'll be hammering on this point. The athletes fight, or sorry, when the administrators fight, the athletes suffer, and that's exactly what. How in the world do you carry a track and field team of 20 athletes to the Olympics and 10, half of them are dropped? How is that possible? And yet heads have not ruled. To the
For me,
extent
Mr. Agbede, it looks like a duck. It smells like a duck. There's no way that kind of money. There's something that's gone fishy there. It'd be good to find out.
It's a mind blowing, and I don't understand how this can happen, and nobody is giving any explanations. It's just let's sweep it under the carpet as usual, and then let's get other sponsors.
Yeah, no, it's very sad because for me, when they come back from, they need to explain to us why were half of our athletics team dropped, which decreased our chance of winning a medal almost by 70%, winning other medals. You know, it's disgraceful. And then you see people say, on my show, you see people writing in and saying, oh, the athletes are protesting. Oh, they're subjecting the nation to ridicule. The nation has subjected itself to ridicule already in the eyes of the international community. That's ridiculous. That you cannot dot the I's and cross the T's of your own. What is your job? You have only one job: to get your people there and make sure that they're duly documented and tested. That's your job.
All right. Thank you very much. Samuel Dada, can I take your question very quickly? And then Adeleye Agbede will be the final question for tonight.
Thank you, sir. Sir, go ahead, sir. Do we have this union that seeks to the affairs of the sportsmen and women, the athletes in Nigeria, in the association? Do we have them? Because I remember during the days of Abacha, there is this Jim Nwobodo that took the generator of the NFA to his house to do burial of his father. I will never forget. I was in school. I was in Akure then. About some years ago, when our women, the Falcons, they won, I saw a video where all of them were kneeling down to collect 20,000 from Dalong, the Minister of Sport, during this era of Buhari. It's so ridiculous. And the issue of this Puma that we are talking about, I was telling a friend about 3 days ago, I said, Puma will charge us to court. It is not true that money, the athletes' kits were not being delivered. They were being delivered. There is a particular man, I will not mention his name, that told Oshibajo that they've gotten another kit being named as Alpha, that those are the kits they will use because they hold this kit for our athletes. They didn't take it from Nigeria. They were having it, and the video is going viral now. They lay it down, the video, the bags and everything, the Puma, everything were delivered. The money and everything were paid. But these people in positions took the power to another extent by bringing another kit, in which they didn't even bring them because they want to take some money. Just corruption that is going on in Nigeria. So, sir, I think you need to get informed. I can't find the article here. I read it 3 days ago, this particular article. I think the name is Alpha, that they said that is the kit they will use. But at the end of the day, they did produce the kit just to get money from the government. So, sir, when you were saying it at the beginning of your discussion, that that is a good soup is a product of money. In Nigeria, they spend money. Our leaders, the political bigwigs, they are too corrupt. Everything is about money, hard money, just to deny people. How can we send younger people to Olympic without proving the necessary facility? Look at the political ideology they bring. We can generate money through the local government we have. Let every local government have their own stadium, where individuals, entrepreneurs, people that has business, they will invest in those stadiums of those local government, where we will bring all our children to the stadium. They will have recreational centers where they develop their talent. That is how a country builds. That is where business comes into sportsmanship. But Nigerians are too backward because we continue to recycle the same leader. Sir, if you want to defend them, the government put money into sport. But the only fact that, like I asked in the beginning, do we have any union that comes against this ministers and every delegate that is working under our sport in Nigeria, because these are the people that have to be held responsible. You said no heads were being rolled, because these people knows that they are alpha and omega in that system. If we don't have, I think we need to start doing something about that. Thank you very much, sir. Let me end it here. Thank you for the opportunity, sir.
Thank you, Samuel. You've spoken so passionately and everything. I'm sure Mr. Agbede Senior has noted your comments. We'll take the last question from Adele Agbede. And please don't ask your brother for pocket money. Ask him a serious question.
I think I'm a bit too old for that.
But he has plenty of money now. You can ask.
Just a quick question. I concur with the vision that my brother has actually stated. In fact, he speaks with such truth and trust, such integrity. And I see that integrity that I'm seeing in him, which is obviously the same sort of the same kind of the same kind of vision that I have as well. I'm actually calling from the United Kingdom, and I'm very involved in leadership. So the question is, I agree with everything he said, especially with the way they approach, because we see Nigerians who've left Nigeria coming to the West, and they still have that same mentality when they hang out in groups. So it's not about, and I loved the analogies my brother said about, kids coming together, and you said he did it, and no one takes responsibility. So it is a leadership problem. So the question I just want to say, how do we go about mentoring and training and development of leaders? And how do we set up a system where we can actually have succession planning, where we can actually train and develop leaders and actually, pass it down to future generations? Because I know everybody keeps on saying, I have a young person, the young person will go in there, but no disrespect. The people I know or I interact with, the young are corrupt, the old are corrupt. Everybody has the same kind of mentality. So how do we go about leadership, training, and development? And that's my simple question.
All right, God bless you. Okay, let me take Samuel's question first. Yeah, Samuel, you spoke very passionately, and I appreciate what you said. Whether the athletes have a collective, whether they have a union, whether they have any due representation, I honestly don't know. They should. They need to have a voice, so that they can, because a lot of, some of my colleagues said, well, if they have issues, they should be able to talk to the sports minister one-on-one. They should be able to talk to their federation heads. They should be able to do this, do that. But the question I ask in return is, how do we know they haven't tried that? How do we know that they haven't been frustrated? Then when they be frustrated, the only way they know is to go on social media, is to go, to carry placards and probably, okay, well, if you won't answer us. One of my friends used an analogy of, how about if as a father, if your father is paying your school fees, will you go outside and tell the whole world that you are not paying, that he's not paying your school fees? Well, I felt back, I said, well, if your father has the money to pay your school fees, and every night you see him drinking at the club, carrying women, doing all sorts and everything, and he comes home and he says he doesn't have money to pay your school fees, what will you do? You're going to do something. You're probably going to report it to his family. You will expose him. You will. You're not going to sit there when you know you need to go to school in about 2 or 3 days' time, and yet you know your dad has money and he's using it to drink and to chase you, and you see it with your own eyes. You'll expose him now. You also because his father that you come and truncate your destiny. So I don't know whether they do, Samuel, but I hope they do. And as I said, I can't wait for the post-mortem of what went down in Tokyo, because we already lead in it. And I can assure you, on every platform I belong to, I'm going to make a noise, a raucous noise. This shall not be swept under the carpet. This failure of administration, this failure of leadership, this total lack of account, people need to be called account for what people need to accept responsibility. And funny enough, you asked a good question. So that Ito asked me too about local government. As I said, the closest to the grassroots is local government. So if these things can be implemented through the local government, sport activities, local businesses, vendors in stadiums, availability of football facilities, that's what they have abroad. They have recreational centers. You can just go and hang out. Your local sports council. That's where it starts, and then you build yourself up to the state and national level. As to my dear brother, leadership. For me, leadership starts in the home. You see, the truth of the matter is that said it all. The elders are corrupt. The youth are corrupt. We live in a funny old society, and you have seen the elders loot the treasury. Our youth have seen the elders show a complete lack of moral integrity, leadership, everything. They've seen them lie and cheat and deceive. So what example have we set? And at times I told somebody this once, a good friend of mine, Jimmy Disu. I said, what right do some people have to condemn Yahoo people? What example have you set for them? They have shown is on a call watch. I heard somebody say on the radio to say, the ways the way or something. I can't remember the way you hear songs. Kishati Lowo, that's a song. Kishati Lowo, that means I must just have money anyhow. Listen to the music. That's how people listen. To me, it's Pastor, pardon my French. So it's utter crap. But they just are the wheel and they shake and they tell you how far they
That's very terrible French. Anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
Nonsense. The songs are not uplifting. There's no song. There's no. It's about money. You're doing all sorts of obscene things. I think where are these people coming from? So, my brother, I think it starts in the home. You, as a father, you have to do your best to educate my two lovely, my nephew and my niece, Sammy and Esther, to show them in the ways of the Lord, to lead by your own example, that, this is where I set the bar for myself. There's some traits that can never be out of fashion, never be old school, never be old fashioned. Honesty, dignity, pride. I'm not talking about the pride of arrogance. I'm talking about pride in yourself, that no matter what, there's some things you will not do. No matter, the others have another saying, you can walk past your enemy hungry. You can't walk past him naked. As a man, you must be able to stand no matter what. You see people now, young ladies, for instance, that you don't have money, yet you want to do birthday party. You want to wear human hair of 100 or something, 200, 300,000. Why? You can't afford it. Leave it. In my life, I can count the number of birthdays I've celebrated. I did celebrate my 50th, celebrate my 50th. I think the last birthday I can remember celebrating my 35th, if I, for whatever, and maybe my 30th. It's just not my thing. But some people, they will do photo shoots. What is all that? And yet you can't afford it. You now go and you are ready to do anything to get money. There's a level of poverty in the land, which is frightening. And poverty, to me, is worse than cancer. Some cancers can be cured, but you cannot cure poverty of the mind. You can't. And poverty of the mind is what even the wealthiest people in the Nigeria have, because they want to have more. They want to arrogate more. They want to get so much to help that their children cannot be poor. But you know what? All that money can go in a flash. Everything, especially when it's ill-gotten. So for me, I think it goes down to the family units, talking to your children, going to church, belonging to the right societies. If you have an old boys, my old boys, the Gobi College old boys, my set 73, the 78, 80 set is everything to me. When I went through my wilderness period, they were there that stood for me. And my guys that I met in King's College, the likes of Takoyeli, and went to Ife together again, Ife UI. So boys like that, Alfonso Satalabo, my boys, I've known these guys for well over 37, almost 40, 50 years in some cases. So you have the friends you keep, and it's true. Birds of the same feather flock together. It's true. If you keep lousy friends, if you keep friends that are greedy beyond belief, that live above their means, then you join them. But if you are content with what you have and you're willing to work, there's dignity in labor. There is. I go to restaurants at times, you see pretty young girls that work. You ask them, what time do you get on shift? 12 o'clock in the afternoon. What time? 12 midnight. They have the option of going to stand on the street or carrying sugar and all that sorts of nonsense. But they choose to work for their money. You see guys, You see graduates driving Uber. There was time my car was off the road and I took Uber for like a week. I met very intelligent guys. Guys that can strike up conversation, have wives, children, decent human beings that are driving Uber from morning to night to feed their wife, to feed their families. Why? So for you that you now decide to go and sit in front of a computer and start defrauding people, you're a disgrace. You're lazy. You're mentally lazy. You don't want to work. There are opportunities that are bound in this country. We're all leaders if we choose to be, if we choose to look above and beyond our current circumstances. Never give up. He that falls can always rise. The success of a man is not how many times you fall, or how many times you get back on your feet. As Johnny Walker said, even though I'm sorry, Pastor is alcohol, but it just says keep on walking. If you can't run, if you can't sprint, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But just keep on moving. That's it.
Keep on moving, don't stop.
Don't stop, no matter what. Ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move.
We're on the move. Ain't no stopping us now.
No stopping.
Yes. Your brother is clapping for you.
Hey, nice. My brother, it's in your hands, oh, my brother. Your children, show them the way to go. Show them the way our own father, Dansaki, Segun Agbede, your namesake, brought us up. My father set that example to grow up. Both my parents are still alive, and my father taught me, you have to work hard. You can't achieve anything without working hard. My father was very strict. He was in the army and all that. Very, very strict, but he kept on the straight of narrow. I remember when I was doing my O-levels in the group, my father used to tell me every day, if you fail your O-levels, you become a carpenter. And you know what? I believed it. Actually, but I cannot afford to fail my A-levels. I do my O-levels.
You have been emotional, sorry in a way.
I'm telling you, well, I could have been forced to say, hey, who knows?
Well, thank God you didn't end up a carpenter.
No.
Thank God. Thank God. Honestly, it's been a very refreshing evening. Thank you for your eloquence. Thank you for your passion, your real passion for the industry and for your commitment to sports. I'm hoping that the ideas that we have shared on this platform will be useful and will help us in our nation building exercise and help to tell our leaders what they need to do going forward. Thank you very much. God bless you. Once again, I want to thank everyone for being on the platform today. Thank you for your active participation. Thank you for all your questions, your comments, and everything. We will try our best to make Nigeria great again, whether we like it or not. We'll all get involved and we'll all keep pushing. Like Segun said, if you can fly, fly. If you can run, run. If you can walk, walk. If you cannot walk, crawl. Just keep moving. And every little step will make a difference. God bless you all. Have a wonderful evening. And if you have any ideas to give us about moving Nigeria forward, let us know. If you want to register on the platform, please do so. Let us know what areas you'll be interested in. My sister Bambo, I got your list. We have sent word to all of them. We invited them. I do hope they came and we'll continue to invite them. And I do hope you continue to support and help us raise some of the money that we need to make this thing happen. God bless you all. Ibrahim, I'm waiting to hear from you, and I know I will very shortly. I want to thank everybody for being here. Samuel, your daughter, very good. Good to see her. She troubles you.
Thank you, sir. No, because I was outside before talking. So they wanted me to come near them. Yeah. Okay. Greet them. Say hello.
See you. Hello, darling. How are you? Good to see you.
Let me remove the.
Make sure you spend your daddy's money very well. And then make sure you become a sportswoman to win medals for us. God bless you.
Great. Say hello.
God bless you. Have a good weekend.
Hello.
Thank you very much.
Aisha,
thank you very much. God bless you. Laura, thank you. Olive, thank you. Ariola, thank you very much. Vincent, thank you so much. God bless you. Auntie Ronke, thank you. Wale Oki, thank you very much. Mama, Mrs. Ojo Odomo, thank you so much. Francis Franco Nero, good to see you. Itoha, bless you. And God, Bumi, thank you for all your comments, everything noted. And we're compiling everything to make something good. Damilola, very good. God bless you. My brother.
Pastor, before you go, I'll tell you one thing. Yeah. And I'm telling you to Segun, there will be no autopsy. Mark my words. Who's going to do the autopsy?
I saw your comments. There'll be no autopsy. And if there's autopsy, you do autopsy only on dead people.
Oh. And Segun, a treble is a treble. Good.
Hey, my friend.
Segun, go and sit down. You this United supporter. A treble is a treble.
Sit down, my friend.
It is stationary stores we want to win treble, not Arsenal. It is Leventis United.
No, I don't support Arsenal.
Pastor, one last word if I may. If I may. I'd just like to say I'm hugely proud of each and every member of the Nigerian Olympic contingent to Tokyo. Qualifying for the Olympics is not beans. Qualifying for the Olympics in itself is a victory. And I'm so proud of them, whether they medaled or not, the fact that they participated and flew our flag, I'm proud of them. I just want to put that out there. Each and every member of that contingent. Bless them all, and I wish them the best going forward.
All right, I'm sure they will
Amen.
hear.
Amen.
I'm sure they will hear. God bless you, and we will let them know.
Pastor,
sir?
Did you see a cartoon that was made for Buhari? The person wrote China, 62 gold, and the other countries. He now took it to Buhari. He said, sir, are you thinking what I'm thinking? Buhari now said, hey, we'll go and borrow gold from China.
So don't be crack that.
Very funny.
We are borrowing everything from China. We'll borrow their gold medals also. Okay. With interest. Oh my God. That's funny. God bless you all. On that happy note, have a wonderful weekend. God bless you.
Amen.